Hey guys, and welcome back to your One Room Schoolhouse. If you are new here, my name is Mary Barfield and I'm a homeschooling mama to a first grader and a third grader. And in my most recent videos, the last two to be precise, I have been talking with you guys a lot about homeschool planning, specifically long-term planning, like planning all the way out to high school, as well as talking through the thought processes / potential curriculums for next school year for my will-be second and fourth grader. And in that first video, so 2 videos ago, I'll link it down below. The first half of that video, I was talking through how I truly go about long-term homeschool planning. And when I say long-term, I mean long-term. My kids are in first and third grade right now, and I have different pathways and options and potential tracks that we can take with their curriculum all the way up to senior year. So if you are a planner like I am, maybe a little type A like me as well, you would love these videos. So in that long-term planning video, I talked about how I had those long-term paths, but I didn't really have time to go into what those detailed options look like for my kiddos. And I heard from you guys in my comments that you guys did want to see a video on what I kind of have laid out. Now, these plans could change at any moment. They could change severely. None of them could happen in any way, shape, or form in the way I have them planned out right now. But I'm okay with that because you know what? If I don't have any plan, I'm floating lost in sea without a compass or a guide or anything. So I write all this stuff down. Literally, I have plans upon plans. I write it down so that I have a guide and a purpose and a direction to go in. Now, will I ultimately end up following one of these exactly as written? The likelihood is very low. I could, but it's still pretty low. But it's nice to have it in place. So before I get into what these actual plans are about, that's what I'm gonna share with you. I'm gonna flip this camera around. We're gonna look at these because you guys expressed interest in seeing what I actually had written out. I would like you to pause here and go back and watch the video 2 videos ago if you have not seen it. Again, I'll link that down below for you because I think it'll be helpful for you to understand my thought process and how I created these so that you can understand like what the result is of that planning process, if that makes sense. So now that you've watched that video, I'm sure you paused the video and went back, right? So now that you've watched that video, I'm gonna just do the briefest of reviews of the things that are important to me and my family in case you did watch that video and you're like, I don't wanna go back and rewatch it, I'm just gonna talk to you. This is what I was looking for when considering what curriculums I have on my potentials list. Number 1, the most important thing to me is trying to keep my kids together with our content curriculum, so like electives like history and science and things like that, morning time, morning kickoff, whatever you want to call that, basket, those kind of subjects, trying to keep them together for as long as possible. So my girls are only 2 years and 6 weeks apart, which affords us that opportunity of trying to keep them together because they are pretty close in age. So that is really nice to be able to do for us. We really enjoy doing our subjects together. Also, it makes it a lot easier on us schedule-wise and me, the mom, teaching as well. So that's really important to us, number 1. Beyond that, some other things are really important. We lean towards a Charlotte Mason pedagogy. Obviously, we like a lot of other things that are not what would be considered Charlotte Mason, but one thing we do like about Charlotte Mason is the literature. We love literature-based curriculums, specifically ones with living books in them, ones that make you really relate to the people in it, and it really, I've noticed, helps them retain the information so much better when you're doing living books. I also love curriculums that are very flexible in nature. I'm not opposed to having something that like spits out, this is how you do it. I do like that, as long as if I need to, can alter it and customize it to our family schedule. That's the most important thing. It's really about scheduling for us. On top of that, this isn't a must, but it is a nice to have for my girls. They really like the option to have activities like painting and crafts, hands-on crafts. They love that kind of stuff. They love videos or visual learners. I don't love like everything to be videos, but I do appreciate a really solid video to drive the information home. My oldest daughter is really into cooking, so if there's recipes included or music, some of the books we've read have like sheet music. They're learning piano. Like those little hands-on things are really important to them. And last but not least, I really love classical literature, but I also have grown to appreciate that there are a lot of books recently written in modern times that fit the bill. of being called a living book. So I don't think we should disregard new books as well. Now, there's only so many hours in the day for us to read a lot of books, but I would like a curriculum that blends the two together nicely, or allows me the flexibility to bring in books here and there, classics or new, whichever way we need to go. So that's also important to me. So curriculums that fit this bill are Blossom and Root, Story of the World, Build Your Library, Oak Meadow, Guest Hollow. I've got a list here. I'm gonna miss one. Book Shark, Beautiful Feet Books. There's quite a few out there that actually fit like what we're looking for. So we have a lot of options. And so with that, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna flip this camera around. I'm gonna show you my different tracks that I've created. This kind of looks a little mad scientist-y. What's that guy's name? Charlie Day. If you know the actor, there's a meme that goes around where he looks like a crazy person and he's got like a spider web map out with all the papers and pictures and he's like, let me explain this to you. This is how I feel right now trying to explain my options to you. So hopefully you can follow. Hopefully it's not too scary. You're going to get a glimpse inside my brain with this. So hopefully you survive. So without further ado, let's turn the camera around and get into these. All right, y'all, we are dealing with ring lights. You can see the shadows. I'm so sorry about that, but the problem is I had to film this at night. I just didn't have any other time schedule-wise. Hopefully they won't be too bad, and I'm going to try and avoid any shadows crossing the page. Another thing we are dealing with, which actually I think it just turned off, is my AC. The vent blows right down here. I was gonna use my pop socket as a paperweight really, but I think it just stopped. So I think that's great. That was good timing. So this is a stack of different options that I have. Now with these, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk through history and science, because I do have a separate file on my computer that runs through individual subjects down to the detail of what writing curriculum I'm thinking about, what grammars I'm thinking about, what spelling programs. I mean, I have morning time information there. I'm not going to get that nitty gritty in this video. This one, I'm just showing you kind of the thought process behind how I came up with these different options, specifically for our group subjects where we stick together for history and science. I feel like I like to keep this high level. I feel like this video, if I went into detail too much, would be too overwhelming. So we're going to stay here. If you guys want to see that larger file, I can do a screen recording in another video, but I wanted to focus on history and science really for this video for you guys today. If you do want to see that other video though, let me know. I will film it. I can do a screen recording of that one because this I have written down because yes, I am a millennial. I like pen and paper sometimes, but I also enjoy the computer. So I like Google Docs as well. But if you do want to see that, leave it down in the comments. I'd be happy to show you like what we have across everything. But with the caveat, just know this all could change at any time. And if you are planning like this, like I am, you have to keep that in mind. It can change at any time or it'll drive you crazy that you're not sticking to your plan. So I will tell you, this one on top is my go-to. This is the one that I am the most excited about, specifically this plan down here. So this is one plan, this is another. This one I think is my best option of actually being completed as written. Well, at least for the history. Science, there's so many different options. This though was born out of this. So you guys said you wanted to see the process, right? This is what I first wrote down. This was like option one. Literally, I wrote this down first one night. I was like, I think this would be a really good option. And then option two was born. And then option three was born going in a completely different direction. But then I came back to this option and realized this, I think, felt the most cohesive. I felt like it had the best chance for success based on the different curriculums I'd picked. And then I created that into this guy here. So I'm trying to do this in a way that isn't like confusing. So I think it's best to start here, going over this first, and then kind of work you backwards from where I started. Because you guys said you want to see how the process, the brainstorming works. So this is how it works. So these are actually quite similar. The only big difference really, I mean, there's some major differences, but what really distinguishes this plan from this plan is that this one has me doing American history for the next 3 years, spreading it over 3. This one has me only doing it in 2 years, hence why I named it 2 years US schedule. And this is the 3-year US schedule. So how did I lay this out? So here on the left, you'll see I have grades. So pre-K first is where we start and we end with my youngest in 12th, and my oldest, obviously, will be a sophomore in college if she goes to college. Then on this side, I have our history. So history. And then on this side, I have science. I also color code my girls. When it's something we're doing together, it's just black, regular, erasable pen. By the way, get yourself these pens. The friction pens are erasable, amazing pens. They come in different colors. I use them for everything. They are literally a godsend. So because I have erased a lot of this and rewritten it in many different ways, and I don't have to rewrite a new piece of paper every time I do that, which is great. And then my youngest daughter, Charlotte, who is currently in first grade, is in purple. And then my oldest is in pink. So I color code them that way. So let's start down here. I'm going to actually, well, no, I'll leave it. I won't zoom it in. Okay. So let's figure out where we started. And I'm going to start with history first, and then we'll go over to science. So in pre-K/first grade, we did Torchlight US Geography for our social studies. We only did the geography portion from there. It was a really nice kind of gentle introduction to geography, but I felt like with my youngest daughter, we needed to get into a more well-rounded around the world study. So we did the entire level of Build Your Library Zero geography around the world study, and it went so well last year, you guys. We loved that curriculum. We had so much fun with it. And so I felt like we got a really good sense of the world, geography, maps, etc. So this year we are getting a gentle introduction to U.S. history using Little School of Smith's American Girl U.S. History curriculum, and it is going so well, y'all. It is also, though, a very gentle introduction. I really wanted to get into the U.S. history with a real, true deep dive into it without like American Girl involved. And so we are planning on doing early American history. I'm deciding between two curriculums. GH means guest hollow. So guest hollow, little kids, K-3, early American history, or the beautiful feet, K-3, early American history. I will tell you, since I filmed the first video of this series, I am leaning much more to guest hollow. I've gotten to really dive into both manuals because I purchased both. I wanted to deep dive, compare, contrast, and I'm really liking guest hollow, little kids, early American history. I'm liking that I can edit it as needed. I can bring in books. I can cut books if I need to. I love the additional activities. And I'm going to do all this upfront planning so that it is truly an open go process for us, and it's going to be amazing. They also have lots of videos, etc. But I'm still not calling it 100% yet. We still could go with beautiful feet. Now, for the next year, for 3rd and 5th grade, after that, we will, unless something else pops up, but I have not found anything else that fits the bill, guest hollow junior, so 4th through 8th grade, modern U.S. history will be what we do next. So the thing with this is that my youngest will be in 3rd grade. However, she is the quintessential second child. She keeps up and hangs with the big kids so well. So I think she'd be able to handle this, looking at the spine, looking at the books picked, but at the same point, if I need to, I can easily, because Guest Hollow is so customizable, I can bring in books that help her out too. So in this level next year, we're probably going to be beefing it up a little bit more for my oldest daughter, but then when we get in here, we'll probably have to kind of bring in some lesser books to kind of thin it out a little bit for my youngest daughter. So either way, we're kind of catering, but that's what happens when you bring in two kids that are 2 years apart to any kind of group subject like this. You kind of got to beef up or bring it down one way or another. So finishing out 3rd and 5th grade, we will be finishing out our American history track. After that, I would like to get back into world history. We tried doing Story of the World Ancients this year, and it did not go well because it frankly just went over my kids' heads. I had also picked out some literature that was not probably age appropriate for them. It was a little bit too intense for them, and that was my fault. So we backed off that and then went, with American Girl U.S. History. It's been a perfect choice for us. It worked out the way it was supposed to. But I really like Story of the World. I think it's a fantastic spine. I love the study guide that comes along with it. So we're going to give it another shot in 4th and 6th grade. And then that will give us the opportunity to bring in some maybe more mature books for my oldest if necessary. I kind of know my kids' maturity and how they handle things now, so I feel like I'll be better equipped to do that. Then to continue that, we will do Story of the World 2, Middle Ages, the next year. Then, so you guys, I love the Build Your Library 7 geography level. It looks so good. We loved the level 0. 7 looks even better. And I really wanted to figure out a way to fit this in here. And I thought, why not bring it in after our first half of world history to kind of do a reboot of and a reminder of geography, but also there's a lot of great literature picked out for this level. So I figured we could do that together. So from here, I'm not going to go through my youngest. We're going to pause right here with my youngest, because guess what? Next year, that's 9th grade. My oldest is now in high school. So we could go one of two routes. The first route is we could do Guest Hollow or Build Your Library's first year of world history. Now, Guest Hollow has 1 year of world history, but it's so robust and big. Everybody said you could easily do it over 2 years. So if we did Guest Hollow, we'd split their world history over 2 years. Now, the other option is we could do Build Your Library. So here I have little notes. Could swap Guest Hollow world history for Build Your Library. This is how I keep track of like, okay, well, what if I just want to swap in one thing? The other option is my youngest is going to, for 7th grade, I would really love to do the Eastern Hemisphere level from Bookshark F. There's just nothing like it on the market that I've seen where you get to actually focus for a whole year on the Eastern Hemisphere, Asia, Africa, all that. It's supposed to be a phenomenal level. It's DDC Homeschool, her channel. She was talking about how she was going through it and it was almost like 2 programs in one. Like that's how robust it is. And it's got really great literature picks. You're just not going to find that. I found anywhere else. So I'm going to have her do that. So what I could do is actually keep Emery and Charlie still together. And even though it's her 9th grade year, have them do the same level, because what that could be is a world history credit easily, because it is very robust. The only thing I would do differently is I would change the writing requirements and expectations. She would be doing more research papers, things like that, to really bring it up to high school level. But that's an option to keep them together further. Can you see why I like it the most? It keeps them together, but it also allows us to go through all the different times in history. So if we did that, I would just do the second half of Guest Hollow or Build Your Library's world history, because we've just had world history, the beginning of it here. We're hitting world geography, and we've just had an Eastern Hemisphere focused year. So we can easily just focus on the second half of world history for her here. For my youngest, for 8th grade, so that'll be her sophomore year, my youngest will be in 8th grade. I love this Build Your Library 8 History of Science. I think that also looks so good, y'all. Oh my gosh. It's the main spines are done by Joy Hakeem, and I really like her writing from what I've seen so far in the samples. So I would love to do this with her for her 8th grade year. Then we'll be looking at my youngest's 9th grade year, my oldest 11th grade, and I'm actually thinking about bringing them back together using Bookshark I, potentially, U.S. history, and it's meant to do over 1 year, but again, it's a pretty robust level, but also I want to bring in some other things of my own books. Like I want to, I always want to bring in my own books. So I would add to it, and I would split it over 2 years, because it uses Joy Hakeem's A History of Us series. And if you've ever seen it, I'll put a picture here on the screen. It is 10 books with an 11th source book at the end, 10 book series. So it is pretty robust. You could easily do it over 2 years. So many people who have done it have said so. So that would be my plan, is to do 2 years of American history using that. Now I say we could use Bookshark I, or I could just get the Joy Hakeem spines. She also has study guides that go along with it that we could get for like Socratic discussion methods, vocabulary, writing prompts. And then we could also just bring in our own American history and create our own curriculum. And then what I would do at the same time is do government, econ, and personal finance. I really like the Guest Hollow looking one. Oh my gosh, y'all, it just looks so good. I cannot remember her name for the life of me. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to list the name. Oh, Impractically Perfect Homeschool, I think. But I'm going to list her channel down below. She is a big fan of Guest Hollow. She's got older students in high school, and she did a phenomenal review on this. She said you could easily get a half credit for government, econ, and finance, and she said there is a lot of logic built into this program. You could easily assign a half credit for logic too over the course of using it. So I'm going to do that with the girls if I can together. I think doing it together we'll get more out of it, discussion, etc. And then just coming back for my oldest will graduate then, and my youngest will be doing her 11th and 12th grade year, and we'll be doing world history, rounding out the end of her high school transcripts with either Guest Hollow or Build Your Library. Now, the only thing I don't love with this is that my oldest doesn't get to do Build Your Library 8 History of Science. I don't know how I'd fit it in there, but I think that's probably about the best I could do there. Maybe I could have her do it as like an elective, maybe, if she wanted to get in on it, because it's more of like, I could maybe give her a science elective credit for that. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So for our science, so what we've done so far, we've done in our first year of homeschool, we did Blossom and Root 1, Earth. We did last year Blossom and Root Level 0, Space. This year we're doing kind of an amalgamation between the Good and the Beautiful units, Little Hearts and Hands, and then Elemental Science Biology. Spoiler, I am actually thinking about combining both girls for the rest of the year with these sciences and creating kind of a Frankenstein science, so stay tuned. I'm like 99% sure I'm going to go with Book Shark Level C next year instead of Blossom and Root. Plant and Fungi, again, could change it anytime, but this is the track that I would follow if I do Book Shark C. If I'm going to do a history program that I'm really focusing on and bringing in a lot of planning and extra resources and pulling things out and everything, I need something that's a little bit more open and go. And not that Blossom and Root can't be open and go, but I am a little concerned about my girls being so hyper-focused on plants and fungi for a year that it'll get boring because it's only one topic. Now, I've gotten the great suggestion from quite a few of you that I could then, because I have a few of the levels of Blossom and Root Science, I could kind of combine them together and create like unit studies from them. And I actually thought that was a brilliant idea if I wasn't doing a history already that required a lot of my planning and efforts and things like that. So if history was really straightforward, I would totally do that with Blossom and Root Science because I think their sciences are fantastic. We have had such a great time with them the last 2 years. I just don't think right now, at least for next year, it's what I need. So this track would show what it would look like if I went through all the Book Shark level sciences with them together. So starting at G, so that would be 6th and 8th grade year, they start going from units, like unit style study, to focus study. So you have Earth and Space, so Earth Science and Space, G level. Then H is life or biology, which I would actually use for my oldest daughter's 9th grade year to give her a biology credit, just obviously beef up the writing and everything and the research reports. Because this is actually geared towards kids up to 14 years of age. And my oldest daughter will be 14 years old when she's in 9th grade. Then continuing on with Book Shark I, physical science. So that's like physics and chemistry. I could still give my daughter a credit for this as well because, again, I can beef it up if I need to, but also it's a really good program. It looks like because it's geared up to 15 years of age and she will be 15 in her sophomore year. So I also want to bring in, I think, guest hollow chemistry in the kitchen. I heard it's fantastic. I heard their anatomy is really great. So I would give her like an interest course, or she might not do science that year. We'll see. And then for my youngest, we would go biology, physics, or interest. I've also played around with the level up here for science where I would actually split them out for science a little sooner. And I would have my oldest do the same thing up here, but they would split out because then I want my youngest to follow the same thing because she will also be very young for her grades. So she'll be able to get, science or high school credits for these Book Shark levels if we need to beef them up as well. So the only big difference up here you'll see is I split the American history over 3 years, which changes this a little. We don't get into ancients until 5th and 7th grade. And then I have it here where maybe I just have my youngest run through the entire series of Story of the World, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I would split the girls out at 9th grade year. My oldest would just do the second half of world history, whether it's guest hollow or build your library, because she's just come then from ancients and middle. So that's the first half of world history. Then she pops in 9th grade into the guest hollow second half of world history or build your library. I actually thought about having her also do guest hollow geography that year, bringing in a geography credit for her high school year. So that's the difference here. We don't get to do build your library 8 or 7 in this track though, which makes me sad. So can you see why this is my favorite? I mean, the science I really like. As long as next year Book Shark Seed works for us, this will be great. But I also think I might also bring in maybe some Blossom and Root at different points. I might bring in Oak Meadow. I don't know. We'll see. But so this is like my favorite. This stemmed from me making this, which is very similar, or I think it actually is. Okay. So this history portion is the same as this top part over here, the science. Oh no, my air conditioning just turned on. Let me get my weight. The science is different. So the science, this is if I would try to stick with Blossom and Root Science. So I would just run through the levels. And we would basically be working off my youngest daughter's grade level, but she doesn't do them by grades. It's level, and there are ranges of ages for Blossom and Root Science, which I love. So you can create family science out of that. So we would do plants and fungi next year, level 2. The next year, level 3, we do animals in their prehistoric unit, which looks really good. I'm going to do that regardless somehow. I'm going to get that in there because it's a 13-week additional unit that she throws in with the animal year-long science program. Then for the next year, we would do Blossom and Root 4, which is physics and engineering for the first half of the year. And then the second half of the year is anatomy. I might bring in the anatomy too at some point. That looks really good. So again, this is what I'm saying. Like, I might do an amalgamation with my science. I might not just stick with one as we work through. Then level 5 is oceanography and astronomy, which also looks good. I just can't pick, you guys. All these sciences are fantastic. And then for 6th and 8th grade, biology and chemistry. So she's released this level. She hasn't released level 7 or 8 for Blossom and Root, just a heads up. But from what I understand and from what I was reading, so she's doing 1 year of bio and chem, but then this is going to be kind of a part 2, Blossom and Root 7, bio and chem. And there I would split out my daughters because obviously my oldest would then be in high school. Oak Meadow biology, Oak Meadow chemistry, physics, etc. And then same over here. Their Oak Meadow sciences look pretty good. I'm not sure how much I love them because they're just, there's like maybe one actual literature book. But she like uses Napoleon's Buttons, which I think is a really good looking living book. But like the rest of it is pretty much textbook, which I'm not sure. Maybe for high school we can do that. Another one I would consider is Sabbath Mood, science. So we've got options here. It's just trying to figure out what we want to do. Also, I thought it was important to note alternate options. Dual enrollment, if it makes sense, is an option. So all our history stuff might, go away. We don't know. So, and then swapping around like Beautiful Feet books levels for Build Your Library. World History 2 could be an option. I could bring in Beautiful Feet for middle here. So I will say for Beautiful Feet Ancients for the intermediate grades, that would not work for us. It is heavily intertwined with religion and we're a secular family for all intents and purposes. So it would just be too much. I couldn't work around it. So that would not be an option. But Beautiful Feet Middle Ages might be. That look pretty good. And their modern American history actually look pretty good. So that would be also options we might bring in. So that's that option. Option 2 isn't too terribly different. Honestly, I'm probably not going to show you this because it's kind of me just like, I erased some stuff. It's basically like this, but it's a little like I was playing around with maybe moving around the science to bring in the Bookshark Health and Human Anatomy, which looks like a really good level. And I think I want to do that. So I've got to figure out how I could work that. I haven't thrown this page out because it's got other things on it, that I want to bring in to this one. So I might try and figure out like here, Bookshark Health and Human. I would like to maybe work that into here somehow. I think I could do it. And then maybe my oldest wouldn't do Earth and Space. She'd miss that. And then we do biology and physics for her high school year. That's something we can work through. Do you see how my brain's a little bit chaotic? But I also have learned, speaking to quite a few other homeschool moms, including y'all, that this is how we all are thinking, like, okay, well, if I do this and I do this, and then, I mean, I can't imagine if I had more than 2 children, I would be doing the crazy Charlie Day spider web map thingy on the wall and look like a crazy person. Okay. Last but not least, let's look at option 3. This is my least favorite, and it's because I split up the girls a lot sooner. And that was, if you remember at the beginning of this video, one of my number 1 priorities was trying to keep them together as long as possible. But I understand if there is a need that I need to separate them out, I'll separate them out. I get it. So I wanted to have an option where I did separate them out. And so Oak Meadow is one of those that looks like it could be a very good option for us, and I'll explain why. So here I have us doing early American history, either, let me get my, my paperweight. So I have us doing Beautiful Feet Early American or Guest Hollow Early American next year, right? So I have us starting there. That's the same as all my other plans before this. So then from there, I would have my youngest do Guest Hollow Junior Modern U.S. History. That's the 4th through 8th grade level. And then I would have my oldest do Oak Meadow 5 U.S. History and U.S. English. So why would I split her out here? I reached out to Arlene and Company and I said, hey, I really kind of like the idea of Oak Meadow Language Arts for the older years, like in middle school, because we've really enjoyed Blossom and Root language arts. And I know that she is a big, well, actually she runs the administration and stuff for Christina for Blossom and Root. It's funny. So she's very familiar with Blossom and Root, but she's also used Oak Meadow in some capacity since I think her kids were in first grade. And so Arlene has talked about how transitioning from Blossom and Root to Oak Meadow is like a really nice transition, but Oak Meadow gets a little bit, in my opinion, and I think maybe in hers, more challenging, a little bit more focused, because Blossom and Root is a very gentle language arts. It takes a lot of principles from Charlotte Mason with the copywork, narration, and dictation, but also from Waldorf, which is a very gentle style in the early years. So if you want something that's getting a little bit more rigorous getting into middle school, Oak Meadow would be a good transition to go to. So the reason I have her transitioning so soon though in 5th grade is because I asked Arlene, I said, I looked at level 6 and level 5. Level 6 looks like it's a big step up from level 5, and I think that would be a bigger step up from Blossom and Root level 5. She concurred. She said, yes, you could transition from Blossom and Root 5 to Oak Meadow 6. You can do it, but it's going to be a more a tougher transition. I don't know how to explain it. It's going to be a little bit harder, most likely. So she said, if you have the option, I would switch her over to Oak Meadow at level 5, and then transition to 6, because it'll be a much smoother step up, if that makes sense. I also kind of loved that Oak Meadow 5. So their English, this is another thing, because you're like, well, why don't you keep it together for history? Because their English and Oak Meadow, their English and their history are completely intertwined. Now, some will say that you can do them separately, but I really feel like it does a disservice to the curriculum, the way it's written and the way that it complements each other. So if I were to do Oak Meadow English, we would do their history as well. There would just be no way around it. Now, of course, with caveats, I would bring in my own stuff here and there, of course, but I thought it was also kind of nice that if I switched over to Oak Meadow at level 5, it would be the U.S. history she'd be working through. And so my youngest would be working through the second half of U.S. history. So I felt like they could kind of still do things a little bit together, a little bit. You see where I'm going with this? And then, funny enough, I would have my youngest do Story of the World 1 Ancients for 4th grade while still doing Blossom and Root 4 language arts. My oldest would then go over to Oak Meadow 6 Ancients. So do you see how this could be a good option for us? Even though they're separate, they'll still be doing kind of the same thing, and like maybe could do some overlapping stuff. So the next step here would be then to have my youngest go either to Oak Meadow 5 US, just like my oldest did here, or she could do Story of the World 2 if she needed a little bit more time before switching over to Oak Meadow. Now, I'm gonna pause right here. So at that point, my oldest will be in 7th grade. I would have her do Build Your Library 7 Geography, because I really love that level, y'all, I'm telling you guys. And then I thought it'd be perfect because I'd have her pop into Oak Meadow 7 World History. We just done World Geography, then we would do World History after the fact. So I thought that would be a nice complement to each other. Now, we're Oak Meadow 7 in 8th grade. You're thinking, well, that's not the right grade level. Trust me, it's rigorous enough. It'll be good. It'll be just fine for her to do in 8th grade. Also, remember, my daughter is very young for her grade level. Both of them are. So you come back over here for 7th grade. And then my youngest is doing the same track. She's doing 7th Geography 7. This is supposed to be Oak Meadow 7. Okay, hold on. Actually, perfect. I've got the erasable pen to the rescue. Look at that. This is why these pens they're just amazing. Okay, that was a bad 7, but it'll do. So I would have her do Oak Meadow 7, just the same World History as my oldest did in 8th grade, so following the same track from here. So we'll just follow here. Oak Meadow 8 Civics in 9th grade. I know that seems odd, but also watching DDC Homeschool's review on Oak Meadow 8 Civics. She is a lawyer. She is a homeschooling mom of 5. She's got kids in high school all the way down to, she's got one that isn't even in school, she's got 6 kids, but she's homeschooling 5. She's got one still waiting to pop into elementary school. She gave it the best review on civics that she's ever seen, and it uses actual court cases, and I mean, it looks so well done. And the way she talked about it, I think it could easily be a early high school credit, but for ninth grade, right? We're just doing it 1 year later than it's supposed to be. I think this could easily be a high school credit for civics. So we would do that, as well as probably the English, because obviously Oak Meadow 8 history or social studies and English go hand in hand. So from there, I would then pop her into world history. So we would do Bookshark, we would do Build Your Library, we would do Guest Hollow, one of those. But if I'm doing this, I'm probably going to have to do world history in 1 year. So I'd probably be looking at the 1 year Bookshark level, or I would be doing Guest Hollow, the Whirlwind history in the actual year that it's supposed to be scheduled in. So Build Your Library might be out for that, for world history. And then we would need a 1 year, or we could do a 2 year US history and spread out government and econ over 2, and then US history over 2. There's a few things we could do here, but you see how that all works. So really quickly, we'll pop into the science and then we'll be done with this. So next year, if we did this, I was looking at maybe doing Blossom and Root 2, Plant and Fungi, Blossom and Root 3, Animal and Prehistoric Unit, and then I would split out the girls. I would do Blossom and Root 4 and 5 for my youngest. I would then hop over here for my oldest. She would be in 6th and 7th grade. We'd do Earth Science and Life. I might keep them together. I could play around with this. But what I was trying to do was I was trying to do a little bit of Blossom and Root, a little bit of Bookshark, and then I was thinking about doing the Oak Meadow Sciences for the high school years. So that's a science track that I could do with any of them, right? So any of the histories we can pair with any of the sciences. You know, they can be separate from each other, but I at least wrote them down so that I could see them next to each other and how they worked. But that's my crazy brain and how I plan things out. You guys might never ask for another planning video again after this. I hope this made sense. I hope it kind of gave you some ideas. I will say that, like, writing things down, even though I am an electronic person, I put all my stuff on the computer. Writing it down helps my brain see things that I wouldn't otherwise. If I put this on the computer, I wouldn't have come out with the plans I did as well as I did, if that makes sense. There's something about pen and paper that helps me out. But again, if you want to see that even more detailed look at our long-term plan, which includes individual subjects, electives, morning basket, that kind of stuff, let me know. That is on the computer. I wouldn't put you through this. It's on the computer, so I can do a little bit of a screen record. It'll be a lot easier to navigate and share with you. And it's actually shockingly probably a little bit more high level, even though it's more detailed. I swear it works in my head somehow. But let me know if you want to see that, but hopefully this was helpful for you guys. All right, y'all. I hope that was helpful. I hope it wasn't too scary seeing how my brain works. But from what I'm getting from a lot of the comments from you guys lately is that you guys kind of think the same way as me, which makes me feel a lot better because I don't feel like such a crazy person when it comes to just trying to plan out the perfect curriculum track for my kids. There is no perfect curriculum. There is no perfect curriculum track. There is only what works for you and your kiddos, and that's what I'm trying to achieve with these. So if you guys have any questions about anything that I went over, please leave those down in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to my channel, hit that subscribe button for more future planning videos, as well as all things homeschooling. We love talking about homeschool over here. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, y'all.